What's up, homegirls? ¿Qué onda, morras? Buenos días, tardes, o noches, since I don't know when you're listening to this. I hope your day is going good, or at least better than yesterday. Welcome to Te Crees Muy Muy, the podcast para las homegirls who are healing, growing, and figuring life out, sin plan, con flow. I'm your host, aka your Chicana homegirl from Cali, Stephanie, and as always, muchísimas gracias for pressing play and hanging out with me. And your reminder of the day, morra, el tren no se fue, tú vales oro, no migajas. Agárrate las pestañas y vámonos. Now, let's get into it. What's up, homegirls? Welcome to Te Crees Muy Muy podcast. This is episode 14. And this episode, to my surprise, may be one of the shortest ones, and I'm shook. This episode might ruffle some feathers, or maybe not, depending. And I just want to say this like up front. This is my experience only. It's not my sister's, it's not my family or anything like that. And also too, this may sound a little bit different because I use ChatGPT to help me organize my thoughts and my notes, because everything I was saying was just all over the place. So it's just structured better. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of struggled with this episode because I was looking at it at different angles. I ended up being way too long and not making much sense. So instead of overthinking it, I just cleaned up my thoughts and I actually say what I wanted to say. So let me go ahead and get started. Also too, thank you so much for tuning in and spread the word, please. Anyways, let me get started. So I've been thinking about this topic for a minute now, and honestly, it's kind of annoying and overrated, but I still wanted to chime in because it's very much in my lane as a first-gen Chicana, and it's something I've been trying to make sense of. This whole conversation about Mexicans versus Chicanos, connection to Mexico, identity, and who's more Mexican, who's more Americanized, just feels like a constant back and forth that never really goes anywhere. And I can only speak from my experience as a first-gen Mexican-American or Chicana. I think one thing that people don't really talk about is how some first-gen Chicanos don't have a strong connection to Mexico. And it's not always because they don't care. Sometimes their parents didn't go back to Mexico. Maybe they couldn't afford it. Maybe they didn't have papers. Maybe they only went back when someone passed away. And even that was risky, especially si no tenían los papeles, right? So culturally, your exposure becomes limited. You grow up with Mexican culture inside the house, but not necessarily lived experience in Mexico. No long summers there, no school there, no daily life there, just stories, traditions, and occasional visits. Over time, each generation becomes more and more Americanized, not on purpose, but because of environment. If parents didn't heavily emphasize Spanish, or culture was taught more passively than intentionally, then naturally the connection is going to look different. That doesn't mean rejection, that means different exposure. So I wanted to chime in here a little bit. I know parents that when I, like for example, when I was in high school, I knew people that their parents didn't care whether they spoke Spanish at home, even though the parents really didn't speak English. And I know there's some parents que dicen no quieren que hablen español because they went through racism, discrimination, so they just want their kids to speak English and that's it. And I know other parents kind of like aquí se habla español, etc. My parents didn't care, in all honesty, but even till this day they don't speak a lot of English. So my first language is actually Spanish. Hey homegirls, before you keep listening, did you know I made y'all a journal? It's a short, cute, 15 pages pa que no andes toda confundida. Sí, un journal. It's called El Journal de Mis Life Shoulds. It's not a miracle fix. Let's keep it real. It's not a whole heal in 10 days type of thing, because let's be real, you've been carrying all this shit since you were younger. It's a small, simple tool to help you check in with yourself instead of bottling everything up. I made 2 versions, PDF if you want to print it and actually write it, like right inside, or a Google Doc if you want to do it from your phone. Think of like heal on the go, right? And girl, si tienes tiempo de andar allí stalking your ex-boyfriend for 20 minutes on any social media platform, you got time pa esto. Y esto honestly, it's better for you. The link is in my bio. Now, let me go ahead and get back to this episode. And then obviously, the crazy part is that a lot of us Chicanos, a lot of us first gens, just got thrown into kindergarten without even knowing English. That's crazy if you think about it. So For me personally, I've been to Mexico multiple times. Not resorts, not just fiestas, not just vacation vibes, but real deal Mexico. I've gone on random days, random months, normal life type of trips. I've been to Ciudad de Mexico, Guadalajara, Irapuato, and Michoacan, the small rancho from where my parents are from. And I've seen the real life, not just the fun parts. And honestly, I understand the culture. I respect it, but I don't feel emotionally attached to it. And also, too, I wanted to chime in here again. I'm not saying that all Chicanos, like their parents, that they're from small ranchos or pueblos. I'm fully aware that when they come over here, they're from different parts of Mexico. So I'm not saying that all of Mexico is pura pobreza and ranchos. I'm not saying that, just FYI. This is just my experience. Mexico feels familiar culturally, but unfamiliar emotionally and lifestyle-wise. I feel like a visitor, not in a disrespectful way, just in an honest way. The pace of life is hella different. The lifestyle is diferente. The daily rhythm is different. To me, actually, it's slower. Even the small things like food me afectan. I have a hard time eating out there because of my gut issues. So physically, mentally, and emotionally, it just feels different. When I think of home, I don't hesitate. Home is California, my house, my routine, my environment, not because I reject Mexico, but because that's where my life was actually lived. I like the culture, I understand it, but I still don't want to live there. In all honesty, I would feel like a full-time visitor, not because I hate it or I'm ashamed of it, but because my life systems and comfort were built in the US. Another thing that kind of annoys me, and I'll be real about this, is when some Chicanos glamorize Mexico online, especially on social media. They go to the parties, las fiestas, rancho vibes, post it on social media, having a good time, and that's cool. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that they're enjoying their time out there, and that's cool that they're able to connect to their roots. But sometimes it feels like they highlight a very small portion of Mexico, the fun parts, the aesthetic parts, the nostalgic parts, not everyday reality, not the poverty, not the systems, not the real lifestyle differences. And two things can be true at the same time. They genuinely enjoy it, and they also be romanticizing it. What makes it more annoying is when those same Chicanos talk down on other Chicanos who can't relate. Like, sorry that some of us don't feel deeply connected in the same way. Connection requires exposure, not just heritage. On the other side, some Mexicans get frustrated with Chicanos because we didn't grow up there. We didn't live the Mexican experience. We didn't go to school there. We didn't grow up in that system. So to them, we come off as Americanized or unfamiliar with real Mexico. But at the same time, Mexicans don't always relate to Chicano culture either because our upbringing was different. We grew up Mexican at home and American in society. That creates a hybrid identity, whether people accept it or not. So yeah, sometimes you're too Mexican in American spaces and too American in Mexican spaces. And honestly, that can feel weird, but not in a dramatic identity crisis way, more like unfamiliarity, not rejection, not hate, just unfamiliarity and lack of emotional attachment. I feel relief when I leave Mexico and come back home, not in a negative way. I enjoy the memories, I enjoy the stories, I enjoy the experience, but once I'm done, I'm done. I want to go back home, and that's just the truth. I also feel more connected to being Chicana than fully Mexican because Chicana identity actually matches my lived reality. Mexican heritage, American upbringing, different lifestyle, and a different emotional anchor. And at the end of the day, what bothers me the most about this whole conversation is how overrated and exhausting the back and forth is. Mexicans hate on Chicanos and Chicanos hate on Mexicans. And honestly, no side will ever win. We come from completely different lived environments. Some Chicanos feel deeply connected to Mexico. Some feel neutral, some feel unfamiliar. Some romanticize it and some don't. And all those experiences can exist at the same time. Sorry that us Chicanos can't relate to every part of Mexican culture and Mexicans can't relate to every part of Chicano culture. That doesn't make either side fake. It just means that the experiences are different. At the end of the day, the day is going to end regardless, and life keeps moving. The constant identity competition about who is more Mexican, who is more connected, and who belongs more is honestly just as tiring and unnecessary. You can understand your roots, respect your culture, and still feel more at home in a place where your life was actually lived. And for me, that place is California, my house. So, like I said, this is kind of one of the shortest episodes, and it's crazy because I took hella long writing this and trying to organize my thoughts. But the interesting part about this, y'all, is that, so I have 3 sisters, but with the youngest one, myself and the 2 other sisters have a huge age gap with my youngest sister. So the 4 of us all lived and experienced different Mexico. So I remember when I went to Mexico, I went like maybe twice when I was little, and I hadn't gone back in like over 25 years. And obviously it just wasn't the same. My grandparents are not alive on either side. So yo lo viví obviously different. I don't remember really going to Mexico when I was little. My sisters though, they all love going, especially the oldest one and the one after me. They mourn, y'all, when like it's time, ya nos tenemos que venir. They like start hella crying. Like they feel deeply connected to Mexico, especially the sister after me, because she would go almost every summer with my mom. So she remembers her summers being out there and stuff. Granted, she wasn't there all 3 months, but she would go for a little bit with my mommy, pues le gustaba and stuff. And I feel weird saying all that I wrote down, because I feel like I might get judgment more like, ay, sí, que se cree muy mexicana, muy chicana. She doesn't even like going to Mexico. In all honesty, I just don't feel anything when I go over there. I mean, I think it's cool. Like, I went to Mexico City for but it's different though, because when I went to Mexico City, it was for the Raiders game back in 2016 when the Raiders were good that one year when Derek Carr broke his ankle and stuff. We had season tickets there in Oakland or whatever, y fuimos, and it was awesome. It was the first time that my sisters and I were all able to take a trip together. Fuimos like a lot of us, like I think about 15 of us maybe or more. And it was a cool experience, me gustó, but we had things to do every single day. And that's why I included in there that I've been to like real deal Mexico, like meaning cuando no hay nada, no hay fiestas, que santo de esto, que birthday parties. No, it's just straight like una vida cotidiana, like a random day. It's just my experience, like, but I feel like I just don't have that connection, and it has nothing to do with the people. I feel hella out of place, but I respect the people there. I respect the culture. It's just not like, yeah. But anyways, don't forget to follow me on TikTok, Te Crees Muy Muy Podcast, also on IG. I'll link the journals if you all are interested in buying them. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Bye. Okay, what y'all think of that episode? Les gustó? Not so much? Did it make y'all ponder, or just be like, esta morra no sabe nada? I just want y'all to feel seen and understood, not stressed out. Anyways, I'll catch y'all on the next episode, and remember, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. By Henry Ford. Thanks for stopping by. Share, comment, and engage. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Instagram at Te Crees Muy Muy Podcast. Go engage and invite other homegirls. Let's build that community. If you want, feel free to DM me for topics. And with that, I'll catch you next time. Bye.